Here are 3 reasons why I'm still holding GALA. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, the idea of 25 cents, that's still on my mind. And some people may be thinking, okay, 25 cents, arguably around a 13x from here, who cares about that? My perspective is this. If let's say Bitcoin went to 300 grand, that's less than a 3x from here. Ethereum going to 10 grand, that's also less than a 3x from here. They've already kind of done its thing. Now, personally for me, around a 13x, even though I get it, this is not going to hypothetically be maybe the best performing thing out there during this cycle because, of course, there are things with way lower market caps and there may be things that could do a lot better. However, to me, I like GALA because the market cap is not too massive in the grand scheme of things, but it's not too small either. I'm not looking for a microcap, but I'm also not looking for a dinosaur with a market cap that is too massive either. So I like what I'm seeing here in terms of it has a proven community, the market cap is pretty decent, and also the exchange listings are pretty good, and I like the community. I like the passion, I like the drive, and when it comes to GALA, I get it. Some people like to say, oh, the hype kind of disappeared back in 2021. However, I think that right now, with blockchain gaming, I think arguably somewhat becoming a narrative again, and also how GALA is still there and arguably still kind of regarded as one of the most reputable projects within this space that is focused on blockchain gaming, it's not something that I would just want to give up on. This is the way I take a look at it, even though there's more competition right now. Like, for instance, a lot of people talk about Beam, which I'm bullish on. A lot of people talk about, Superverse. There's a bunch of other projects. However, I still like GALA's presence and I still like the community, so I still want to believe in it. However, not to mention, at the price of 25 cents, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be $11.5 billion, give or take. And keep in mind, we've seen Dogecoin exceed this by over $70 billion in market cap back in 2021. So it's not something too ridiculous to me. And now this actually brings me to my second reason as to why I'm still holding GALA, and that is because I like its fundamentals. I get it. When it comes to the GALA ecosystem, so to speak, there's other aspects, for instance, beyond just GALA games like music, like film, but I think that the main thing I want to focus on is GALA games because the blockchain gaming market is predicted to be worth over $300 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So I don't think it's such a bad thing. If that figure were to ever come true, that would hypothetically be bigger than some countries' GDP. So it's not something that I just want to give up on. And when it comes to the space of blockchain gaming, sometimes people like to complain and say, oh, when it comes to blockchain games, a lot are not good yet. They argue that, oh, no, a lot of the games are not that fun, it's not that interesting, the graphics are not that good. And in like over 90% of cases, I agree with that because that seems to be the case. However, it doesn't mean that it's such a bad thing theoretically to me because I want to be focused on a market before it really has kind of like taken off, if that makes sense. I want to believe in it kind of in the more so beginning stages. Now, when it comes to blockchain gaming, sure, there are some massive projects out there, but in terms of adoption, in terms of popularity, it doesn't really feel like it's really sort of mainstream yet. So if anything, I still think it's somewhat in the beginning stages, considering still how some of the projects here are pretty massive. But I think in just the whole grand scheme of things, there's still ways to go. So I do like that. I like it when a market is still somewhat on the rise. I don't want to be on that market when it's already kind of risen, right? If it's already kind of at the top, if that makes sense. And when we think about GALA games as well, I think sometimes people like to say, oh, this is not really going to revolutionize blockchain gaming, adoption isn't the best. However, I think as of right now, people usually care about the narrative. They care about the story. I think they more so care about what something could be as opposed to what it already is. So if let's say that blockchain gaming narrative really comes back in a massive way, I don't see why I would be like, oh, there's something that I don't want to believe in. Also, let's take into consideration, if adoption was the only thing that people cared about, I think arguably many AI projects, many even blockchain gaming projects wouldn't be as massive as they are because, again, a lot of these projects don't have the best adoption, but then they're still pretty massive. And I think, if anything, that's kind of a testament to how usually people care about the narrative and the story, and I do like the one that I'm seeing here. Now, GALA film and GALA music, it's sort of kind of just an accessory, I think, to the whole GALA ecosystem. However, I still kind of want to talk about it nonetheless because if we take a look at the music streaming market size, it is expected to be worth over $100 billion, according to Grandview Research, by 2030. So I don't find that as such a bad thing. Not to mention, according to something called Zion Market Research, the global movies and entertainment market size is predicted to reach over $160 billion by 2030. So when it comes to GALA music and GALA film, who knows if they're necessarily going to be revolutionizing those markets? And again, there's a lot of uncertainty to me when it comes to that because it doesn't seem like it's that popular, but I still like the markets that they're focused on nonetheless. And also, I like the GALA chain. I think the GALA chain is a pretty good addition. Of course, some people out there say, oh, the GALA chain doesn't have the best adoption, but I still like that nonetheless. And I just like the whole complete package when it comes to GALA. So fundamentally, I don't find it too bad to me. Now, this actually brings me to my third and final reason as to why I'm still holding GALA. It's because, historically speaking, altcoins, typically as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. So 18 months from the last Bitcoin halving event back in April of last year would actually mean around October this year. Now, that's based off history, but with the way altcoins are heading as of right now, that sort of timeline wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Now, of course, it could maybe be December or even Q1 of next year. However, to me, it's not more so about knowing the exact moment in time. It's more so about preparing for the moment in time, if that makes sense. So I'm just dollar cost averaging, holding and just waiting and just preparing for that moment in which maybe it does something, because I will not know the exact moment in time. All I can do is just prepare for a moment in time. Now, some people like to say, oh, but if you pulled up a price chart and all this, well, look, that's not going to do anything. If I pulled up a price chart, in my opinion, if I just drew some random triangle, a falling wedge pattern, do you think the market's going to care? Do you think the market's going to pay attention to that and say like, oh, Lee, the captain did this, that means we got to do this? They're not going to care. So sometimes I see some people out there, they pull up a price chart when it comes to just not even GALA, like just a bunch of other projects. They draw some random triangle and then they say, oh, it's going to happen at this time. Then it doesn't. Then they just keep adjusting the triangle. Now, at that point, that's just drawing. For me, I just don't get that, because if I'm in here just to do some drawings, for what? I'd rather talk about the fundamentals. I'd rather talk about just the whole vibe of the project and what it's really trying to do, as opposed to just being focused on the price chart, which really doesn't tell the full story. Because if I was just paying attention to the price chart when it comes to GALA, I would think that fundamentally it's worse than Dogecoin. But then arguably, of course, I mean, we can't even compare the two. One's a meme coin, this one actually has utility, in my opinion. So this is why I don't just want to focus on that. It just makes no sense to me. Instead of that, I would rather just, again, not anticipate the perfect moment, but then just prepare for a moment. And I've been holding GALA for a very long time. I mean, just take a look at my earlier videos back then. One of my earliest videos ever that I made was on GALA. So I've been holding GALA for quite a while now. And sure, GALA has showed some moments of brilliance. Like, it had a pretty good pump and then had a dump. And then, it hasn't really been that sort of, I would say, in that same hyper regard like back in 2021. I'm totally aware of that. However, to kind of rebuttal that, I don't think arguably we've seen a fully fledged type of altcoin season yet during this bull run either. So to me, sure, it's showed moments of brilliance in a sense, a little bit in a small scale, but I don't think it's hypothetically showcased maybe what it could truly do if there was, let's say, a fully fledged type of altcoin season. So that right there are 3 reasons why I'm still holding GALA, and I don't want to give up, but that's just my mentality. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Malay the Captain, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.